Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divine Panther Presents. Today, we shall be discussing The Diplomat, season 1 on Netflix. It got a season 2, so I said we should discuss season 1. My wife loved it. She watched it, not as much as she loved Bridgerton, but she still loved it. But what do we like about it? It's a movie, TV show. What is all that? We're gonna get all that. Sparker, what did you think of this series now turned into a series?
So I really enjoyed it. This gave me a lot of West Wing. I didn't realize till afterwards that because the creator of the show was a writer or producer on West Wing or something like that. So that's why, a lot of it was there. I liked the fact that we get a story of, the intricacies behind diplomatic engagement. I mean, and the complications behind that, as I was just saying earlier, like, we get to see all the shit that happens before the president or whoever steps in front of the podium, and the wrangling that happens over what seems minuscule to us, but it's very important to these people. I liked her character a lot. Her very complicated marriage was actually a little tiring for me, because I was like, is he going? Is he staying? What are we doing? Like, she seems very convinced that they should get divorced, but then he's still there. Just, I don't understand. Let's see. They did a very good job at keeping the focus of the show on just a few people, right? Like, she's clearly the focus of the show. In season 2, I would like to see that maybe expand a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely the whole show focused around her. But I do like the fact that, like, the other characters are just stage performers around her, being and the diplomatic part. And even the president is a minor character. The prime minister, he's a little bit more so because he's making things happen, but he's not the main character, right? It's all about the diplomacy going on, which I quite enjoyed. I'm glad. I thought they did a very good job of kind of not turning this into a spy story, right? With there's an intelligence picture there, there's a CIA chief of station there, and they have little bits of intel, but they don't really have. This is not turning into Jack Ryan, which I was very, very happy about, just because I liked what it was. What about you?
I agree. I did enjoy the fact that it was acting. Carrie Russell is an amazing actress. I remember her from The Americans. That's why I remember her from. So seeing her in a spy government type of role like that, I was like, oh, like, so The Americans are here. So I was actually looking for her husband, but he's doing Perry Mason. So I was like, I thought that. But like Kate and Hal are interesting on again, off again. Maybe they're together. Relationship is interesting. So with Dennison in there as the foreign minister, I like to see those two together, as an ambassador and a foreign minister, like as their jobs. I mean, like, to see them interact was kind of cool. But there is an underlining something, like they're like when there's something, whether it turns into anything, it's a different story. But they're trying to give you something. Like, Dennison did express that he does think something maybe could be with her. She's like, look, I got things to do. I ain't got time for this. Like, and I thought that was cool. But she wore the dress, and it means something. Like, she wore that red dress, and
that just meant she was over her husband. She put that red dress on after she once again figured out some shenanigans he was up to.
But yes, but again, I felt when she felt betrayed by Dennison, and she was like, I gotta go. Like, this is like, so I'm not saying she was ready to date this man, but I felt like she was reaching out, and then she was like, oh, I can't believe.
So about that, did you actually, okay, so I watched different parts of the show twice. Okay. When he first expressed interest in her, I was like, okay, I just accepted it. It was written as a. But then as I started to think about it, I was like, everybody, people are playing each other along the way, and mostly on the British side. And then I started to think, like, is he just playing her?
No.
Yeah.
No. Like
Yeah. I mean, is he that far apart from his prime minister? Really? It's just hard to.
I hear you.
You don't become the foreign secretary of the UK and then make a major. I mean, that's a major slip to say he's attracted to the ambassador or to any ambassador, and no matter how proper he is, like the picture behind you, hands are always in his pockets, not touching anybody. It's not the point. The point is like I started to think, I was like, is that real?
It's real. You know why I would say, writing wise, the fact that was his sister and not his wife, not his girlfriend, right? Like they made a point of being like, he's single, he's a good looking dude. Even Hal was like, hey, you need a fuck buddy, you need something. Like if we're not gonna make this work, like maybe this is cool.
Why would you pick the foreign minister of the, I mean, if there's one way to fuck your career for the rest of your life, it would be fucking the foreign minister when you're the ambassador.
I'm just like, hey, you know, like,
but if there's one way to do it, if there's one way to screw up your life, that would be it.
And you can't be vice president if your husband used to.
You can't be nothing. You could go write a book later. That's all you could do. You could be the story for the paparazzi. But this woman, as she said, she has spent years to get to this. She is a career State Department person who was made ambassador to Afghanistan.
Yes.
Right. So she's risen up the ranks to get named ambassador. And then, she gets pivoted. That's how we enter the story.
Yes.
She's preparing to go to Kabul and they're like, no, you're going to London to the frou-frou post or whatever. I don't know how it could possibly be a frou-frou post. But anyway, the point here is she did all of that and made all the right moves. And then we're supposed to believe that after she married, she was DCM to the ambassador that she ends up marrying. So she managed not to screw her career up at that time. But we're supposed to believe that the woman is gonna sleep with the foreign. No,
I'm not saying they get married. I'm saying
they're not gonna do nothing. Okay, because whatever they do is
it's secret.
Screws her.
It's secret. But she's gonna. They're gonna.
She has a security detail. It's not gonna be that secret.
Season 2 is happening, and I'm like, it's gonna.
This is the UK. They always find out what's going on behind somebody's door over there.
Hey, behind that door, they're gonna be getting
paparazzi.
They're gonna be getting it. But I feel like there's something to be resolved. There's something there. So what happens to it or not, we gotta see what happens.
You don't think he's playing her? Because for a second there at the end, I thought he was.
But that's why it's something, because she genuinely thought about it, and when she heard that he was secretly going to do a Bin Laden type assassination, on French soil, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe, and she turned away from it. So like they want you to know that she kind of little maybe thought about it, but now she's like, oh my God, and I can't. So now I got to be guarded.
Okay, so little known secret that I'm going to share with you. Women always kind of have thought about it. 5 times a day at least. Yeah.
I hear you, but I'm like, like you said with him, this is totally against everything in her career. Like, I mean, all kinds of stuff, right?
All kinds of stuff. So that's why that part of the writing didn't make any sense to me. Why would you even introduce this? Because it doesn't fit with the person you've built for us.
Plus, the sister is into the husband. Also, I think the sister is just more of a free spirit, but they did show you that. But they did show you that too. But even then, that also was a moment for you to see that Hal truly does love his wife. He's like, I can't do this, right? Like we can flirt or whatever, but what?
Sorry, that's not what happened. Hal has performance issues. He literally said, I had my hands around this, and he couldn't get erect. That was his problem. It's not that he didn't want to. It is because I love my wife.
But he told her. He was like, "Hey, this is."
Yeah, because he said that's what always happens when it's not you. He literally cannot.
I'm like, but I'm saying but to your point, like they still were like, if she tries with Dennison, she's not ruining anything. She's not ruining her marriage, because like that, it is what it is. And even the husband's like, hey, What do you think? Well, anyway, I mean, there's bigger fish to fry, I guess, story-wise. But that's what kind of drives you to be like, what's going to happen in season 2? Only with his wife. I just thought it was interesting, but also from a storytelling standpoint. So we did discuss this off camera. I thought this show did a good job of, there's the West Wing storytelling. That's a series. What's the drama behind the drama? Of the staff that gets people from point A to point B. That's really what West Wing was about. And they do that in The Diplomat, but they also give you, this particular is really about the mystery, who orchestrated the attack on the UK ship and the impact that's having internationally. And that in and of itself easily could have been a movie, A, B to C, and been done with it. And a compelling movie, like a John Grisham novel. Like you could knock that out like pretty well. And I would say like Sum of All Fears, like that kind of stuff. And Jack Ryan could have made that story. It would have been too much. But like that kind of storytelling, and it would have been done. But they're like, we're gonna take that and then frame it into this diplomat story. But like you said, it's called The Diplomat. So I think when they started this thing, it wasn't intended to be a show, like a multi-season series. It was intended to be like a limited series, because this would have been one adventure in her many adventures as the diplomat. And it would have been solved at the end of the season, and they would have moved on to the next diplomatic crisis. But they're continuing with this being the overall story arc, which makes it a movie. Because once it's solved, once you figure out who's really behind the UK attack and what is left?
Then you go to the next crisis. So I agree. I would, as I said to you, I think the other day, I wouldn't be surprised if the end of this particular story was shot, right? One more episode could have wrapped up everything. Pretty much, even with or without the explosion at the end. And then you go, season 2, you go into the next crisis. I mean, it's the United States and the UK. It's crisis du jour. Like, you pick one, right? But I kind of hope that that's the case. We don't need to stretch this particular mystery across another whole season. I mean, in the process, what have we already done? We've screwed the Libyans. We've irritated the French. This is all just season 1, right? We've irritated the French. We've screwed the Libyans. We sort of are taking on Wagner group / whatever they want to call them in the maybe, kind of, maybe not.
Maybe not. We may or may not have killed the Iranians ambassador.
Somebody. So yeah, let's just leave that dangling. An ambassador died, right? And that's not a thing.
That's not a thing.
Right now. That right there is season 2.
Like who killed the ambassador?
It can't be.
He just had a heart attack at this moment.
Iranians from getting revenge. That's a whole season 2 there.
That's a whole conversation. And then the Russians are there. I
could have used more Russians. We talked about the Russians literally the entire season, and we didn't see a single Russian.
That's a good point. We didn't see not one of them. Not
a single Russian. We saw a bunch of Iranians. We saw zero Russians. I think we need some Russians in season 2.
I strongly believe that it has to be some serious government consultants on this show, because there's a lot of stuff that they actually did right, like realistic.
Yeah, of course, they always get experts. There's a bunch of people moonlighting on this show.
Jack
I'm
Ryan
sure
they make that shit up. Jack Ryan is completely ridiculous. They put real world Iran being on the terrorist watch list. What Hollywood person even knows that enough to go, oh, we need to put that into the show? That's something. I was so we were talking about this, the CIA Russian analyst who's why are you here? And she's because there's 6 of us left. Because everything was Afghanistan, everything was terrorism, and the community has to. That train is over, right? That ride is over. We got to get back to the Russia. We got to get back.
Okay.
And I
That
like
was it was supposed to be funny and it was, but it was the least realistic thing that happened.
I
Even from the chief of station having the conversation like at the riverside with the MI6 counterpart, that was humorous. Okay. That's not obvious at all. But the fact that you're trying to tell me in the middle of what could be a crisis, you can fly an actual expert to the UK. No, I just took it for a little comedy moment, but that's not real. That's like no.
I would submit though. A large piece of the intelligence community is still transitioning. They were terrorists for a very long time. They were Middle East for a very.
They're always there. Russia never went away. VTCs are everywhere. And there is no fucking way that it would be here. We're going to send the person who's been doing this for a few years that has a degree in Russian literature when you could easily VTC anybody to give a better background.
All right. But also when you said there was no Russians, I liked how the prime minister gave a long list of a realistic list of all the diplomatic things we did to Russia because of Ukraine.
Yes.
You know, like that was very detailed. Like they put research.
I mean, his point, I couldn't argue his point. He's like, what do you want me to do? We did all the things. We have done all the things. Why can't I shoot somebody? Like, I kind of understand how I felt.
I like again, that's
I got what you were saying. And how you get to the compromise of going after the what are they called?
The oligarch.
Yeah, but
the Russian
how
person,
they like we've got to give him something. I mean, these are conversations that probably really happen, right? To get to some kind of way that maybe people will appreciate. Like a lot happens to avoid going to war often, but like people really don't want to shoot other people.
That's what. Hold up, but see and they brought it up. It ain't that we don't want to shoot anyone. We don't want to shoot anyone who has nukes.
That's very important.
And I'm like, hey, hold up, Prime
Very
Minister.
Important distinction.
They're not Iran. Iran doesn't have nukes, so we can kick them around all day. Like, but Russia has nukes, China has nukes, North Korea has nukes, and we don't mess with countries that got nukes. Like we
don't mess with countries with unpredictable, somewhat cray leaders that have nukes.
Just nukes, period. Like we
just want to add.
We see all leaders as crazy unless they're ours.
And ours are pretty crazy.
I know, but I said, but we always, especially in Hollywood, we make all of them look crazy, but it's like they all got nukes. So that's
true. That's true. Hollywood does make it sound everybody's leader is crazy but ours. But I will say they threw us under the bus in the writing as well. They made and this is not the first time in a TV show lately that I have seen the sentiment of not resentment, but the consequence of following the United States into the Iraq War. It came up in the show. It's come up in other shows. It's a I guess maybe it's an ongoing diplomatic output, right? It's like we can't fuck up like that again. Like that's what they said in the show. And there are consequences, right? They're not going to just blindly follow us. Like there's still relationship repair work happening in this marriage between the United States and the UK.
And that's also true, but that's also ties to what they did in the show when they talk about the EU and Brexit, and and the impact of that.
You're like, really? That chick's bringing that up like right now? Like we're talking about something completely different. We're trying to avoid war happening.
I gotta go suck off Brexit. He was like, I gotta go suck off the EU leaders. I was like, dude, that was all kinds. I was like, damn it, that got a bit graphic. But I was like, but it was still like. UK is on their own by their own, by their own design. I mean, but it's like I got to go kiss up to all the people.
I'm sorry. I mean, an easy retort to that would have been, then we don't really need to ask your permission to pull a caper in France. We're trying to be friends about this. You can just come get that dude.
So it's funny. But even just with that, I
can treat you like Pakistan any day of the week.
Also true. Oh yeah, that didn't work out really. But
Pakistan was pissed, but that so
I was like, hey, Pakistan, we here though. But let's talk about that. Let's put that together. Like I like how even Kate was like, you're about to do what we did, but in another country. and that's not okay. I was like, what? You just gonna skip over that shit? I was like, yeah, we walked into somebody else's country and just murdered someone, but that's because we're America. You can't be doing that shit in France.
He was also very bad.
I'm just we
He was
justify,
bad dude.
we
Okay?
justify a lot of shit. Like because we're America. Like
Yeah.
and I'm just saying I like, but they acknowledged it, right? They acknowledged what we did and was like,
Yeah, they did that a
like,
lot in the show, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it a lot in the show.
And this American president, I think this is the first time it wasn't a Clinton. Like after Bill Clinton, a lot of American presidents in Hollywood were Clinton-like, like younger.
In what way?
Like younger, like still white, but like white men, but like younger and more like your big brother than your older dad. Like this guy was more like of a Biden. This guy did like this.
Yes. I see your point there. And I really like, I don't know if a vice president, I would love to know if a vice president could be that frank with the president. I love the fact that it was like nobody else in the room. Like it was an appropriate setting for her to be that frank, and she was quitting. So, it's fine. I'm not even going to work for you. So I'm just going to have a conversation with you. But in truth, yeah, you're right. They because what was it a few months ago when around Biden's birthday, they kept talking about his age to the point where even he got annoyed. Like, so the fact that they bring it up in this way, in this show, I thought that was pretty. It's like they mixed it. You're right. They did mix little bits of different presidents, I think, when they made him for this show.
So I think with age in particular, like they could have went Trump, they didn't. They could have went Trump like, but they did Biden like. Like older, like funny, bumbling, but he's still there, and like how do we get him from point A to point B? Like Hal would have been a president like 10 years ago. Like he's the person I think they would have casted as president, as a more stronger like leader, what I'm saying, like and would have been more believable, like in that post-Trump era. I mean post like Clinton, I think. But again, it'd just be interesting how where's the Obama, I guess. What we like that type of president, if they continue.
In truth, that's why they're looking at her for vice president in the first place, because they don't have any Obama in the White House. They've got, that's their whole plan, is to get her youth and energy and all of that, capture that and hope in the White House.
But again, that's West Wing, right? Like that's a TV show story, not a movie story. Like, and you got to see how that develops.
So which would you like this to be? Would you like this to be a TV show in season 2, or would you like it to be a movie? In which case, the movie is the spy story of who done it.
So no. I like the TV show. Again, like what are you expecting when you walk into it, right? Like I'm like, if I walked in hearing West Wing is making a new show, right? I know where my head is at. Like when I heard that's like people involved in Homeland were involved in this, I'm like, all right, Homeland first couple of seasons had a specific story. It was a murder mystery that got solved.
I didn't watch Homeland, so
Homeland, the first 2-3 seasons was about a terrorist attack at the CIA headquarters, a terrorist assassination attempt against the vice president, and that mystery was solved in 3 seasons. Then it became the misadventures of a CIA agent, and I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. And then when he went to Pakistan, went to Afghanistan, all this kind of shit, and it just got very convoluted, right? So so I'm like, pick a thing, like what? Don't turn this into Homeland, where like we're gonna solve the mystery of the UK attack, and then Kate is gonna go from station to station, just get into random adventures. Like
definitely, I don't want to see that.
Don't do that.
Don't want to see that.
Don't do that shit again. I'm like, what?
No, I would like to wrap this story up quickly and move into another broad, overarching, thing. Yeah, that would be better. Yeah. I don't want to see the misadventures of the diplomat, traveling diplomat.
Carrie was all over the place. She was brilliant, but she also had she was bipolar. She was bipolar, so that kind of fed into her issue. So like, if she wasn't crying, taking pills, fucking somebody, she was solving mysteries. Like, it was a lot of shit going on with this woman. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, no, I'm glad I didn't get on that train ride.
It's, you have sex with Carrie, you getting died, you're getting murdered. Like, at some point.
I just thought of something while you were on your Homeland tangent. It would be cool if Kate were to be named the, like, I don't know, it's not a real position, but ambassador to Iran, even though we don't have an embassy there.
Relationships with them?
Well, that would be the point, right? Is developing diplomatic relationships with Iran, right? But you have to do it behind the scenes. So she's an ambassador, but we don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hear you. That would be a cool story because that's her expertise. She's able, you know, operating from another country, but she's really engaging with the Iranians, and that like gets all mashed up into negotiations, and that would actually be kind of compelling.
If she was somehow part of the new nuclear deal,
maybe they were involved in the previous nuclear negotiations. So they brought that up a couple times.
So maybe that, but then it could turn into Jack Ryan at that point.
I forgot the name of the position, but I feel like we do have someone who is at that ambassador level that leads the Iran stuff, even though we don't have diplomatic relations. They obviously, the person's not called ambassador, but you have someone at that level who is in charge of the Iran stuff.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, like team lead or something. Let's not say ambassador.
Well, I think it would be at the ambassador. It would only make sense for her to be at the ambassador level. My point is that then if you have all these backdoor negotiations, we're managing a relationship with Iran that we don't have publicly, that would be compelling. I think they could still kind of thread that needle with the intelligent stuff like they did in season 1, but not make it an intelligent story. Yeah. And then, you know, you're trying to like navigate one crisis, you know, there'll be another crisis because you have perpetual crisis with Iran, right? So you could weave in the whole Russia-Ukraine war and trying to engage the Iranians about it. Like, there's a lot that they could, I think, do with that Iran angle in a season 2.
They could. Love story. I'm gonna get back to love stories real quick. Stuart and Ida.
Oh, the DCM and the chief of station.
Chief of station.
I thought they were cute.
I thought they were. I thought they were, but then I was like, hey girl, you know this man about to run a campaign, so of course he gotta go back to America. She's like, damn you're messing up my career.
Yeah, I didn't understand that breakup at the end. That was very strange because they had such a mature relationship. I mean, these people, like, they negotiate with each other very effectively, and they have like real conversations, and they hung up and then picked up the phone and said, do you want to try that again? Yeah, I was like, oh great, there's like minimal drama in this relationship, and then at the end it's like, you're leaving me. Like, whoa,
how did we get here? This escalated very quickly.
I know.
I was like, I don't understand. Like, something must have happened. I need more than this. I gotta go run a campaign. All of a sudden we out because
she felt like she turned down
Egypt,
a good opportunity to go to
no position.
Where? Libya?
No, it's Egypt. It's like Egypt. It doesn't matter. She was going to be chief of station somewhere else. The point is
she was going to be chief of station somewhere in a juicier post, because I guess the UK post isn't that juicy until all of this stuff happens.
Until all this happens. But before that, it's like,
so whatever. They were going to try to go and be a couple, a real, you know. I guess that's how they make it sound like that's how you roll. You hook up with somebody and then you like go to the next post where you're like out publicly, you know, as a couple.
It was Egypt. Thank you. It was Egypt. So anyway, but I mean, the point is, she said she felt she put her career on hold for their relationship, but he couldn't do it.
She was willing to.
She was willing to, but again, you can't stay in the UK forever. So that doesn't make any sense either. Eventually, you're going to get put somewhere else. Like, so
I got nothing. I didn't understand how that whole thing kind of devolves right in front of my eyes. I didn't know why we had that. I didn't know why it was there.
Like, what are we doing with any of this? Like, I don't even know. Like, and then
I mean, she hasn't even really decided she wants to even be vice president. And there's no real campaign, right? Like, Again, there's no campaign. He
keeps
reminding her, there's no campaign.
I didn't think that was a thing. Like in real politics, that's not a thing. Like, even if you don't like your president, you ride that shit out until the term is over. And then maybe you say, I recuse myself, but not in the middle of an administration.
Listen, the vice president got caught with her hand in the cookie jar of $6 million cookie jar. She's resigning, aka getting fired. So yes, they have to replace the vice president. That's what this is. So that's why he keeps saying there's no campaign, because they're just going to name her.
Exactly. I was like,
really, he doesn't have to leave the UK at all.
Exactly. We're just
unless he goes to be her chief of staff, right? Which would make sense, because she still needs some polishing to be able to withstand a campaign. Because eventually this guy's going to run for president again. Another term. So I guess would be the automatic pick to be her chief of staff, going back to America.
Yeah.
So I assume that's how we get to this argument breakup.
That didn't make a lot of sense. Anyway. British actors. There's a long story problem of American actors, particularly the black ones. But Black Hollywood being upset that British black actors come up here and take our jobs, as they say.
Well, this dude is the foreign secretary.
That's not my point. Wait. So there's an American actor in this show trying to play a British dude. I was like, no.
Wait, who's the
Wilson from House? It's all as how I can say. He was one. He's one of the British members. I'm trying to look for his character name, but
where is he?
He was in the room when they were asking for options, and people were just going around saying stuff when the prime minister came to Dennison's house.
Yeah,
there's a character in there that's being played by an American.
Okay.
And I'm like, that British accent was getting on my nerves. I'm like, but I was like, but we trying to take their jobs. I'm like, I'm not sure why that was necessary.
I didn't even notice.
I can't find. Damn it. Does anyone know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember the scene where he has a bad accent.
It was just, he was trying real hard to be British, and I'm like, that's not your thing right there.
You are reminding me of her in the garden beating the shit out of her husband. I rewound that, watched it again. It was it was pretty funny.
I'm like, damn. It was a wild ride. I mean, of how we got here, and then again, Hal's whole I'm doing a speech here because I don't want to be Secretary of State, or maybe I do want to be Secretary of State, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on with all this.
Okay, I will give him the benefit, since it's clear that he might be dead. I will give him the benefit of the doubt of when he sat down to have drinks with his friend, and his friend said, "Hey, I'm hearing about you and Secretary of State." He did not have a plan at that time. He wasn't thinking it. He was going to do what he told his wife he was going to do. And then as soon as his friend said that to him, he needs to be in the limelight. Like his wife told him, you can't be on the sidelines. You're not cut out for that. And he immediately, made all the moves that you would make to try to audition for the role. And she sees through him so quickly.
Well, because they've been married for a long time, so she's like, I see your shit. Also, she's always suspicious of him. Period. Also, another thing,
as she should be,
another thing that they actually show real life, the aftermath of Afghanistan. The Afghan, people that helped Americans and them trying to get out, and on that big mess for them to be like, there's a woman back there that we used to care for and support, and now she may be kidnapped or murdered, and how are we getting those people out? Like, I really like how they still try to keep it as grounded and all that stuff. They did not talk about the somewhat very chaotic evacuation of Afghanistan. Maybe it can be too specific to an administration.
I mean, maybe then that they would have to discuss how it was State Department did a bad job. I mean, they would have to put State Department, on Front Street and say, yeah, we fucked that up. And maybe they don't want to go that deep.
I'm just
for the show.
I know, right? But I was just like, they talk about the aftermath though. Again, to kind of be more real.
They did, but the show isn't about beating up America 100. All 100% about beating up America. But they beat up America on the show quite a bit.
The actor is Robert Sean Leonard.
Okay.
He's an American actor. He was in the show. Like I said, he tried to play a British person. It did not work out for him.
I did not notice. Now I have to go back and see
Yeah,
the bad accent.
I can't find his character name, but I was like, damn it. Like,
because the actual actor House is British.
It's quite British, yes.
Yes.
And like he could have
so
played that role.
Got him.
He could have got that role. Like it would have been better because he's legit British. They really looked at Hollywood and said, shit, we can't find another British actor. Damn it. We'll just get this dude. He's white. It's fine. They won't notice the difference. And I'm like, I noticed the difference. So I just wanted to bring that out there. It just cracked me up. There's something about being British about the.
So UK. Who do you think dies?
I think the husband's fine. I think the assistant is dead. Like you said, the assistant is probably dead. They need someone to die. But so I'm saying the assistant's dead at minimum. Husband may be in the hospital. He may be in the hospital. Hal may be in the hospital with an arm sling, but he's fine. Long term.
The DCM was the same. I think to me, the DCM and Hal were equal distance from the car and coming in opposite directions. So is the DCM dead?
Maybe. I give that a maybe. I give that a maybe. Is that the black dude? He's fine. Black dude's fine. Hal's fine. The assistant's dead. You can't kill him because he's.
Well, she was standing right next to the car.
She's definitely dead then.
It seemed to me she was right next to the car anyway.
Both of them are fine because both of them still have outstanding storylines.
I don't think they should be fine. I think they should be severely injured.
I said in the hospital with the arm sling.
I mean, not arm sling. We're talking somebody is near death. If you want her to have an affair with the foreign secretary.
Her husband has to be dead?
Her husband has to be dead. This dude right here.
Hal already established he gives no fucks. In fact, he recommended. So that's not a
he
thing.
Only says that because he said himself he doesn't think they're getting married. He's doing everything to manipulate the situation not to get divorced. He told her that to lull her into a false sense of security. He really doesn't think that. Okay. He doesn't want her to sleep with someone else. He doesn't want to get divorced this whole time.
I hear you. And that's what's going to make it worse. See, then the problem is then she looks very unsympathetic if they get together, and he's in the hospital. Like it looks bad. It looks bad. Like they're going to want her to be like a caring, supportive wife. So if you kind of messed up, she's like, okay, now I get to do Dennison. But like, I feel like they need to be in the right frame of drama. I'm hurt. I'm concerned. I need someone to console me. And then Dennison's there. Like that's usually how this is going to happen. It's not going to be there on a date drinking wine and no. It's going to be an emotional moment where they kiss at least the kiss.
The DCM is injured. They fly him back to America to heal from his injuries, which are severe. Right. They fly in a new DCM. Right. That's a hot, smart dude. And she gets with the hot, smart dude.
They invested too much. They invested too much into the Dennison thing. It has to come to something. It has to come to something. A kiss.
Why does it have to come? It makes no sense. It would cheapen the entire series because it makes no sense.
I'm not saying bend over a table. I said a kiss. A kiss, at least. Oh, what do you think about the woman scene? Dennison said, hey, he said, Kate, put on the dress. Go talk to the French woman, then y'all can bond over being a woman. And then they said he wanted us to bond over being a woman, and then they did bond. Not over being a woman, they did bond, and she got the thing. And I was like, hilarious. And he was like, I know the situation. He's like, I know what you did, but you're right.
He also wanted to prove to her that he was as savvy as she.
Yeah.
Because pretty much she was the one. If you remember, like they show up in France, and she puts herself often back in her role of being Hal's advisor, right? Mm-hmm. Telling him how he should engage with the French interior minister. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was interesting that he kind of did his own flip to that to set her up. He's like, I could do this too.
And that's why I'm like, they're trying. She's like, hey, he's like, I can just be as savvy as you are, American. And she's like, oh,
it was something like that. But he does want to impress her, right? So
he's like, because why? Because he's like, hey, also,
because he wants to get in those pants
at some level. I mean, he cares about the pants. I'm not saying it's just about sex. I mean, I think he truly does care for her. But anyway, Ronnie, I think you're saying Ronnie's dead. I think that's the assistant that you're saying that was close to the car, I think. But anyway, the situation, fuck, it was.
So let's talk about the mystery while you're thinking that.
Okay,
do you really think that the British Prime Minister, who's somewhat bumbling, is like behind the scenes assassinating people, getting ships attacked so he can have a war just so he can get reelected? That part of the storyline is I'm not a Brit, clearly, so I don't know what they think of their own prime minister. From the outside looking in, it's like, that's a lot. Maybe that harkens back to the homeland side of things. It's a little too much for me.
I hear you, and the problem is he seemed too committed to the Iranians. Like when they said it was Iranians, he's like, let's fuck them up. Like he never hesitated.
Yeah, because they don't have nukes.
Because they don't have nukes, for one.
Because they don't have nukes.
So and that should have been. I would have loved to hear them say that actually for the foreign minister to be like, look, let's put a chart. Who has nukes? Who doesn't have nukes? Like, let's just kill Iranians. Like we can do that. But anyway, he was too committed to that. And then once the Russian angle popped up, then he was like, oh, let's go do this. Like, it's like he too was like, oh, okay, well, let's try this route, right? Like he just wants to shoot something. Like he didn't, it's not like he was hesitant against Iran and all of a sudden he was like, let's go do the Russians. So I think
I'm sorry, he could have killed as many Russians as he wanted to in Libya. They make a point of saying that the Libyans have been begging for help to deal with this mercenary group who are all Russians, right? Linked to the Russian government. That was a perfect solution. If he just wanted to shoot something, no one was going to say a word diplomatically, internationally, shed a tear, sadly, over him killing a bunch of Russians that have been running around killing Africans. They put that out there. I was actually kind of, I don't know, cheering, I think. It's like, yes, finally, someone's dealing with this, atrocities these people are committing. And then the 2 seconds after they threw that out there, moving on, because why? It's just dead Africans. Like, it was a little annoying, but
I hear you. His sister said that also. So I mean, I don't know. I do see your point with that. So it's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. But if it does turn out to be true, and again, they spend 10 episodes to try to resolve this, they're doing too much. They're doing too much with that. The fact I thought it was interesting that the queen or the royal family was not involved in this in any way whatsoever. And I'm like, that just seems odd.
And they can stay out of it. Okay, this is not that show. They have their own show on Netflix, if I remember correctly.
I'm like, I'm not saying talking about the inner workings of the royal family.
I don't care. No mention of royal nothing. Okay, like let's stay focused.
I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting. So I don't know. I want to see what happens to Prime Minister. If he's guilty or not. How does that look down to a partner? Also, you're trying to break up with us. I thought that was hilarious. That's good West Wing writing. He's like, you're trying to break up with us now. I was like, well, it hasn't been good for us. It's not been good for us, and I don't want to be seen like I'm the bitch in this relationship. I'm like, you are, because we are America. like, sorry, baby, you got to know your role. You got to know your role.
It's that attitude right there. See what I'm saying? America. It's that attitude right there that's messing up this relationship that we have. America. The Brits.
I like to acknowledge. They got to acknowledge that America says it's okay. It's okay. But America says
it's not okay. It's not okay to fly into France to arrest some mercenary. Come on. That should have been the real response to that should have been, how can we help? What do you need? Do you need something? What do you need? It's not. We got you. We support you.
I don't know. I like Hamilton is. He disappears into the background. Actually, his color just makes. He looks like a predator. He looks like the predator, like going into going into camouflage.
Look at the screen. Look at the.
He's like, no, why are you doing this to me? Leave me alone. I was like, no. Oh no,
No, he wants to play, and so this
that
is
was-
me trying to entertain him while I'm talking to you.
You're like, damn it, I'm here. No, I'm very happy with the show. And I look forward to a season 2. And I just want to see where this goes. Yes. Maybe they're going the same way. I don't know. You know what? Check it. This is not gonna happen, but I still want it to happen. They actually do get together. Dennis, listen. But he's like, no, this can't be. This was a time, we had our time, but you got your job, I got mine. Let's just move on, right? And she's like, okay, I understand. And then she becomes vice president, and she's pregnant. And she's like, oh shit. And Hal is like,
you've been watching too much Tyler Perry.
I love it. No, that's standard. That's standard from any show.
First of all, she's old enough not to get pregnant.
I don't know.
Meaning she's old enough to know how to not get pregnant.
You get caught up in the passion, though. She'd be like, oh shit, maybe she don't think she can get pregnant. And then all of a sudden she is pregnant. And then that's a whole thing by itself. And that baby comes out quite chocolate.
Why? Because the baby's going to come out beautiful brown with lots of curly hair, because her hair is curly, as we all know. And
Hal's going to be like,
what? They're going to be like, who the baby dad is? Fine.
That would be hilarious. Oh, that'd be season 3. That'd be season 3. Just to try to cook.
It's a bad idea. This is not Shonda Rhimes. Okay.
I got it. I'm putting that out there. I'm
I'm blocking.
It's an international baby. It's an international baby with dual citizenship. You know what's happening?
It's a Shonda Rhimes
crisis
thing.
It's a diplomatic crisis already in her womb. Like, where's the baby going to be born? Who's going to name the baby? That's not a
diplomatic crisis. Remember, with the UK, we're friends.
Oh, that's right. They were like, wait, what? This baby binds us together, and now the two nations can work together.
Really? Seriously? You've been watching too much Tyler Perry.
I would love to see that. But no, it's I'm excited. What would you like to see in season 2? Or what really would bring you back?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I mean, other than, like I said, I want this story to end. I'm okay for them introducing a new story. I don't really care what it is. I like the intricacies of this, but I definitely don't want to see them get together.
Every show needs a love story.
That's fine. They can give her a love story, just so long it's not like the typical, a woman finally gets somewhere with somebody and she spreads her legs. Like, no, that's just wrong. Like, no.
Maybe she seduces him. You're looking at this wrong. Like, maybe
it doesn't. It's the same trope regardless. It doesn't matter who seduces who.
She's like, you know what?
That's not what a guy would do. No.
All right. I don't know. I was saying, but we need a love story. I'm sorry, it's not gonna be Stewart and Chief of Station. That's not where the show is going.
I mean, no, that was comic relief.
So,
I mean, she puts her gun down and says, "Do you want an omelet?" They were just there to be funny.
Although gun carrying fucking CIA agent.
She said, "I thought we said no surprises. I thought I was clear." Like, what could happen to you if you just show up at the house? Like, many a woman is told to do that. You just can't show up. You just can't.
Listen, you gotta listen. You gotta listen. Okay. Like I agree. The attack story needs to be solved pretty quickly. And then we move on to the next mystery. I'm not looking at her running for vice president. Like, if this was West Wing, that would be a story. That would be a season. Like, her actually campaigning for vice president, how she gets it, and then she gets it. And
you don't campaign for vice president. Dude keeps saying there's no campaign. You just get named it.
You get appointed.
And then in this particular situation, because they're firing the current one, there's no campaign.
So her in the position that would change the whole show. Then she's not the diplomat. Now she's the vice president. And the whole title of the show has to change. Like, I'm like, this is not what we signed up for.
That's not what we want.
I was like, no, she has to stay the diplomats.
Yes.
And keep it. And maybe that's what maybe she finds the next vice president. Maybe she's like, you know what? You need lady so-and-so because she's so-and-so and she's so-and-so. And this is what I do. I'm a diplomat. And
It's possible. It's possible. Or we, it just occurred to me. China was not mentioned, right? So we got to have a China crisis in season 2 because that's would be realistic. We had Russia and everybody. Now we got to have an Asia crisis in season 2.
What about the Saudis?
Just saying.
It's all kinds of countries out there. I mean, we could be like, but no, you're right. I mean, so we gotta go through the who's who of countries that we always act like is a problem. But then that's maybe two more seasons. Like this, I don't see. I like this. House of Cards went like
they're supposed to be at season 2, but did they say anything about more than one, or we just know there's just one?
No, it's only one season. But I'm saying if this went from a limited series to a season 2, then it's almost like they're just trying to wrap up this story, or is this a multi-season concept? You know what I'm saying? Like if they try to go. But again, Homeland did the same thing. They said, we finished this story, let's do something different, and the different just didn't make a lot of sense. So maybe they do just wrap up the attack mystery, and that's it. And then they say, we appreciate it, and we'll see these characters and other stuff, these actors and other stuff. I mean, it would have to be, I think. All right. Anything else as we say later?
So I'm looking forward to it, but since they didn't plan for it, I guess we have to wait 3 years before we get season 2.
No, like you said, like the last episode, there's no way they thought that's the ending of a story. Like that is a cliffhanger, like period. So
I'm pretty sure that they shot the next part already.
Yeah,
if they were only planning on one season, you just don't end it with the car explosion.
Yeah, so clearly they were like, oh, wait a minute, like they got, it'll be like next year. Like, I mean, maybe they were looking for the green lights, but I'm pretty sure like the writer's room was always like, all right, we got this stuff together and we start filming. And, with the writer strike being down though, I mean, that could be a problem. So, I mean, so a lot of shows are being disrupted because of that. So that's a problem we got to deal with, which is impacting some of the shows that we actually watch. But Yellowstone's fine. So.
Speaking of which, my sister brought up something. I know it's kind of the writer strike. And she said something about ChatGPT and she says, I'm sure writers will want protections against AI and whatever. And I had a very strong reaction to that. I was like, no, that makes no sense. And the reason I say no is because a lot of jobs are going to change as a result of
technology,
the new technology coming on board. And I just don't think that's like, no, my own job for years now, policymakers have been wanting to replace us and, well, in my case, analysts with computers. They've been talking about this for years. This is a fact. Everybody's job that does certain things are going to change. And I don't necessarily think that it serves anybody in the long run to say, but we're going to protect this group of people over here and say that only certain percentage of writing needs to be, can be from AI. It's like, no, you've got to evolve how you bring on these technologies to me. But I'm curious, what do you think?
I think it should be. I see the writer's fear, but I think it's an enabler. I think certainly, like you brought up Shonda Rhimes, like Stephen King. Like there's certain writers that like it's the person that makes the material, right? It's not just someone that writes. Well, you want like James Patterson to write a book because you know how he thinks. Shonda Rhimes, you know how she thinks, right? Like they create unique stories that only they can do, right? And I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, but you can feed. If you wanted to, you could ask the computer to write me something in the style of James Patterson.
With enough material, they should be able to synthesize a rhythm, right?
But then wouldn't that be great to have a bunch of writers start with something, obviously do some stuff to it, right? And I mean, that creates even more content faster. Like there's like goodness that could come out of it.
then that's finishing it out. That's hey, I did chapters 1 through 5. Help me get 6 and 7. Like a writer could use it to like kind of round out a like that's a
or
but like
maybe whatever the computer spits out is shit, and they're like, well, that's reusing a hook or a mystery that we did before, and the writer comes in with new spark of creativity. And you know what I mean? Like, but you see my point. It does not have to be that
the death of the
you've
writing.
got to protect the past.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. But again, so as I'm understanding, when like record labels, like once people were able to record at home, like just hit the record button, like the record community was like, oh crap, music industry was like, oh crap, we're gonna lose sales because everybody's just gonna start mass copying all this stuff. Like no, like that it actually didn't happen. But you have to change with the times. Like it's not platinum albums anymore, it's streaming. Like everything, like technology helps things, and you got to evolve, and writing will evolve, but these machines have to be built, they have to be taught, they have to be, and people names mean something. And there's certain writers, like if you're like a junior writer on a staff, you're just there to kind of flush out somebody else's idea. I mean, that's what you do. But there's certain people at certain levels that are like, no, like this person knows how to create good content. They are responsible for it, right? And maybe the technology just kind of fills the gaps when like there's a strike and there is gaps, right? I thought.
Well, we'll see what happens. I know that the AI is not the underlying issue with the writer's strike, but we were just talking about it, and I was wondering your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a thought. I still look.
Or the rest of everybody who watches.
So thank you very much. What are your thoughts too? Put it in the comments. Put everything in the comments.
And put it in the comments.
And leave a permanent comment for this video. We appreciate you watching. You will see us again. At least us, Sparker and I should be back for Yellowstone, which will be next weekend.
Next week. So I will catch up with. Apparently, I saw the last 2 seasons.
You saw. she didn't even. She's like, David, what did I watch? Based on our conversations, I believe she saw season 4 and season 5. And I'm like, there's 4 other seasons that you gotta get.
What happened?
3 other seasons.
They showed the entire series one weekend, and I happened to just turn and I got hooked. I didn't even realize what season I was in. I was like, this is a good show. So I just kept watching it till I was like done watching it. I thought I just watched season 4, but apparently I watched
5,
4 and 5.
Yeah, because you were talking about like some stuff, and I was like, well, like John is governor. Like season 5 is John's governor, and how that rolls out. So I'm like, that's 5. So and I just started 5 episode 1 right now, so I got to watch that on cable. And then so once I get caught up with that, then I can say I've seen the whole thing. And we're gonna do one big one video for the series because it's almost over. So the last episodes of season 5 will be this fall.
And then they're gonna split it off into like 2 different shows.
Oh, 2 different shows.
Yeah, so you have the prequel show. I forgot what it's gonna be called, but it's a show that goes back to like the great grandfather, the grandfather, whoever. And then you have the double sixes show or something like that. And that's what I was telling you about, the guy who goes off to
Jimmy, yeah,
and and others from Yellowstone. There, that splits off into another show. So it's actually splitting off into like a couple different shows.
As we said in preview, like I Beth and Rip are the show for me. Like so, like I would have loved to see them and what they do, and with Walker and all that kind of stuff, and how they start their own thing, because Rip says there's no life for him outside of Yellowstone. So to show him that he can have a life outside of Yellowstone would be interesting, and what is Beth, without her dad and that kind of stuff, would be kind of interesting story. But yeah, that's his beef. But anyway, we're doing that. We're doing beef. We got Power this afternoon. We got some other things going on. But we'll look at what Sparker is watching. And we will link up again. And see what's on your mind.
I'll watch some stuff over the Mother's Day weekend, so we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll do something else.
Yeah. I was looking forward to hang out with you. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you this afternoon.